So among the many pressures on the national fiscus this year is the need for government to capacitate crime-fighting and prosecutorial institutions. Now, last year, budget cuts affected the NPA and the Special Investigating Unit, raising concerns about their ability to do their work. So how will an improved budget allocation ensure that the NPA will indeed thrive? Let's bring in OUTA's Head of Legal Services, Stefanie Fick, who's our guest on this issue. Stefanie, there's no overstating how important this leg of the budget speech is. Shamla Batoy herself, the head of the NPA, describing her own organization as being on life support. That's not good.
Yeah, that is really not good, because this is the institution in terms of our constitution that is solely given the job to do prosecutions. In other words, it's accountability of the transgressors. I do have to say that, unfortunately, although it's extremely important that the minister tells us whether he will support and strengthen, our law enforcement agencies and the NPA, because it is so necessary. Unfortunately, I have to add that if we do not change policy, and if we do not change the will to hold people to account, and if we do not change our, create a platform where we can create jobs that our economy can thrive, unfortunately, again, I don't think that giving a bigger budget to the NPA will solve all our problems. We need to start eradicating corruption. And part of that is, educating people on the effects of corruption, because we've seen the effects of corruption. And to also have the will to hold to account, not just by the NPA, but political parties, institutions, by disciplinary hearings, and just creating ethical leadership.
I actually want to just rectify what the head of the NPA said in Parliament, Shamla Batoy. I said earlier that she said the NPA is on life support. Actually, what she said is that law enforcement, the rule of law in South Africa, is on life support, which in my mind, Stefanie, is a lot worse in terms of the situation she's describing. You've talked about educating people around corruption, around the causes, around the impact of corruption. The State Capture Inquiry report is one of the tools to do so, isn't it? And then comes in the issue of political will to act on what's contained in that report.
That is absolutely correct. I think we've seen just the magnitude of corruption. I mean, if we are just think back to Paul Holden that testified about, I don't think we can really quantify state capture, but we're talking billions. I mean, the 50 billion rand that was wasted due to state capture. And can we just think about what South Africa could have done with 50 billion? I don't even know that we really realize how much money that is. And if you look at the problems we are sitting with, law enforcement, NPA, our health system, education, the fact that there are still people in this country that do not have access to clean water, that do not have access to electricity, the fact that Eskom has got problems, that money could have gone a long way in just uplifting South Africa. And if we didn't have state capture, again, I want to say that economically we need to institute trust, that that internationally there can be investment, that locally our business are, giving a platform to thrive, and that will equal, more job opportunities. I am convinced that there is a lot of unemployed people out there. The only thing they want to do is to look after their families. In other words, give them the opportunity to get a job and look after themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the State Capture Inquiry report itself, the first parts that we've now seen, it talks about the need for an army of prosecutors, I think is the term that was used. Yeah. We're going to need more money for that, Stefanie. Is it a cop-out from Shamla Batoy to say the reason why we're not getting on with prosecutions, perhaps to the speed at which South Africans expect, is because of budget cuts?
Yeah, honestly, I think if she's honest with herself, that's not the only problem. It's one of the biggest problems. I really think that their budget, just if you look at the previous year budget, and it's not necessarily speaking to their budget, if you just look at the Hawks budget, I mean, the Hawks budget that is supposed to investigate, I mean, the NPA can only prosecute the cases that's already investigated. So if you get poorly investigated cases, the NPA will never be able to prosecute, even if they wanted to, even if they have billions and billions and billions of rands. And the Hawks budget was less than the Protection Services budget. So again, it's priorities. Where are we going to put our priorities? And if you look at the police budget, that was decreased by 3.2%. Another problem with the police is that 48%, is operational. Sorry, let me rephrase that. The amount of jobs that's currently occupied in the police are only 48%. Now that's 2,584 if I'm not mistaken. And of that, only 1,832 operations, which did not include all investigating officers. So what that say to us is that there's too little investigating officers. So again, we're talking about a budget that goes to senior officials that is not operational. They're not the ones that's investigating the daily crimes. They're not the ones that. So it's more than just a budgetary problem. Yeah. Yes, their budget should be increased. In fact, I think the problems in South Africa, it should be, way there with one of the biggest budgets. But if you do not again look at policy, do not look again at the fact that the salary bill is too high, and get more people and people that can do the job on entry level, but remunerate them properly. Yes, make sure that there's that they can do the job. That's the type of things that needs to go hand in hand with the budget. Yeah, absolutely. The problems with the NPA, there are a number of other problems preceding. As you say, for the NPA to investigate those cases, we need a police force that's capacitated, etc., etc. Stefanie Fick, let's thank you for your time this morning. She's the head of legal for OUTA, joining us this morning as we build up to the budget speech.